It was supposed to be a normal morning in Atlanta, birds chirping, cameras flashing, fans scrolling through their feeds until a shocking headline shattered the calm. King Harris, son of rapper T.I., sentenced to prison. Within minutes, social media exploded. Fans couldn't believe it. How could this happen to the son of the self-proclaimed King of the South? But just when everyone thought the story couldn't get any wilder, T.I. himself, silent for weeks, finally broke his silence, and what he said left the entire hip-hop world in utter disbelief. Whispers turned into roars as insiders claimed the family had been torn apart long before the arrest. This wasn't just about King, one source revealed. This was about years of secrets, pride, and a father's guilt finally catching up. The streets buzzed, podcasts lit up, and fans demanded answers. Did T.I. fail as a father? Or was this all part of a deeper family feud gone too far? Now, at 50 years old, T.I. has decided to speak his truth, and he's not holding back. From betrayal to redemption, this story isn't just about a sentence. It's about the breaking point of a family built on fame, loyalty, and buried pain. Atlanta had seen its fair share of drama over the years, but nothing prepared the city for what was coming. The news of King Harris's arrest spread like wildfire through every social media platform, talk show, and hip-hop podcast imaginable. Fans couldn't believe that the son of T, the rapper who built his empire on resilience and family values, was now facing a prison sentence. People began asking questions. What went wrong? How did the son of such a respected icon end up behind bars? As reporters camped outside the Fulton County Courthouse, flashes from cameras painted the air in harsh bursts of white. King was escorted. In handcuffs, his head down, a blend of shame and defiance etched on his face. Behind him, his mother, Tiny, wore dark glasses, fighting to keep her emotions under control. T wasn't there that morning. He'd stayed away. And that absence was louder than any statement he could have made. Fans immediately began speculating online. Some said T was furious with his son and refused to show up. Others whispered that he couldn't bear to watch the downfall of the boy he once proudly called his protege. Either way, the silence was deafening. Inside the courtroom, tension hung like fog. The prosecutor laid out the charges: possession, assault, and a reckless night gone wrong. King's lawyer argued it was a setup, a young man's mistake blown out of proportion by the media. But the judge wasn't swayed. When the sentence was read, Tiny gasped, covering her mouth. King's jaw clenched, and a single tear slid down his cheek. He was to serve time. Outside, chaos erupted. Reporters shouted questions, microphones thrust into faces. Fans screamed, and cameras rolled nonstop. It was more than a scandal, it was a tragedy unfolding in real time. This is what happens when fame goes unchecked. One critic sneered. The industry eats its own, but not everyone agreed. Supporters flooded T's old posts with messages of love and strength. As the day ended, T finally appeared. Not in person, but in a cryptic Instagram live that lasted barely 3 minutes. His tone was calm, but his eyes betrayed exhaustion. "Sometimes you raise your kids right, and the world still gets to them," he said softly. Ain't no blueprint for being a father in this game. He didn't mention King by name. He didn't have to. The comments section exploded. Fans were torn. Some praised him for staying composed. Others accused him of being cold and distant. "Where's the emotion?" One fan commented. "Your son just got locked up, and you talking like it's business." Another replied, "He's hurting. You can see it in his eyes." Behind closed doors, though, the truth was far messier than the internet imagined. T and Tiny had been arguing for weeks before the sentencing. Sources close to the family revealed heated late-night discussions filled with blame and regret. "You were supposed to talk to him," Tiny allegedly shouted one night. "He looks up to you. He wanted your approval, and when he couldn't get it, he went off the rails." T reportedly fired back, "Don't put that on me. I've been trying, but he don't listen. He think he grown." The shouting matches became a nightly routine. Their home, once filled with laughter and music, now echoed with frustration and silence. The younger kids tiptoed around, avoiding the storm that seemed to hang over everything. But there was one moment that changed everything: a leaked recording from someone inside the family circle. It was an audio clip of King arguing with his father weeks before his arrest. The clip went viral overnight. In it, King's voice trembled with anger. "You act like you perfect, but you ain't never around," he said. "You care more about your image than your own son." T's voice was low but sharp. "Boy, don't disrespect me. I built this. You got everything you ever wanted because of me." The internet went wild. Fans dissected every second of the clip, debating who was right and who was wrong. Some said it proved King's pain, the struggle of growing up in the shadow of a legend. Others claimed it showed T's frustration as a father watching his son throw away his potential. As King began his sentence, reports from inside the prison began to leak. Guards described him as quiet, withdrawn, and sometimes angry. "He's not like the other inmates," one insider said. "He carries himself like he's still got something to prove." Fans speculated that T had visited him, but there were no photos, no confirmation, just whispers that their first meeting since the sentencing didn't go well. Meanwhile, T kept his focus on work, appearing at charity events and talking about fatherhood in interviews without ever mentioning King by name. "You can love somebody and still be disappointed," he said in one interview. "Sometimes love means stepping back." His words sparked another round of debates online. Tiny, on the other hand, broke her silence through an emotional post. "No matter what happens, that's my baby," she wrote. "The world don't know his heart like I do." Fans rallied behind her, flooding her comments with support. But not everyone was sympathetic. Industry insiders started hinting at deeper issues, that this wasn't just about a rebellious son, but about family secrets that had been buried for years. One anonymous source claimed that T's tough love approach had pushed King away long before the arrest. "T runs his house like he runs his music career with control," the source said. "But you can't manage emotions like you manage business." The story took another twist when an old friend of the family, a former associate of T, went on a podcast and spilled even more. "There's things y'all don't know," he said mysteriously. King been acting out for years, trying to get his dad's attention. He didn't want to be T's son. He wanted to be King Harris, his own man. That one line sent social media into a frenzy. People started piecing together old clips of King from reality TV shows, interviews, and music snippets, looking for signs of rebellion and frustration. Fans pointed to his lyrics, ones that hinted at being misunderstood, overshadowed, and unheard. One clip resurfaced where King said, "Everybody think it's easy being T's kid, but they don't know the pressure. It's like I'm living in someone else's shadow every day." It hit hard, especially now that he was behind bars. The narrative shifted. People began seeing King not as a reckless celebrity kid, but as a young man struggling to find his identity in a world that expected perfection. Even T's critics started softening, suggesting maybe the rapper was facing his biggest test yet, not from the streets or the industry, but from within his own home. Still, T remained silent about the situation, at least in public. Until one night, when a reporter caught up with him outside a restaurant. "How do you feel about King's sentence?" the reporter asked. T paused for a long moment, then said quietly, "Sometimes pain makes men." And with that, he walked away. That single sentence lit the internet on fire again. What does he mean by that? People asked. Is he proud? Is he cold? Everyone wanted to know. But T, as always, kept people guessing. Inside the prison, King began receiving letters from fans, some encouraging, others critical. But one letter in particular stood out. It was from T himself. Wasn't long, just a few handwritten lines. "You're stronger than you think. Learn from this. Come back better." Sources say King read it over and over, his expression unreadable. No one knew if he was moved or angry. But something inside him shifted. And outside those prison walls, T was preparing for something no one saw coming. His public confession the night before T decided to speak. Atlanta was quiet, almost eerily so. The city lights flickered across the skyline, and the streets seemed to hum with a strange tension. Inside his mansion, T sat alone in his studio, the same place where he had written countless hits. It's the same room where he once taught King how to hold a mic. The walls that used to vibrate with beats and laughter now held only silence. His phone buzzed constantly with calls from managers, publicists, and friends urging him to make a statement. "You can't stay quiet forever," one of them said over the phone. "People are twisting the story. You gotta control the narrative." But T wasn't listening. He stared at an old photo on his desk. Him and King at a music video shoot years ago, both smiling, both proud. It felt like another lifetime. Tiny walked into the room, her voice soft but firm. "Tip, he needs you," she said, using the nickname only family used. "You think staying quiet makes you strong? But he's sitting in there wondering if you even care." T sighed deeply, rubbing his temples. "I care," he murmured. "You know, I care. But every time I tried to help, he pushed me away." Tiny crossed her arms. "Because he's hurting. He ain't just your son. He's a kid who grew up watching you fight the world. Now he's fighting his own battles, and he don't know how." Her words hung heavy in the air. T looked at her, his voice low. "You think going public's gonna fix that?" Tiny shook her head. "No, but maybe honesty will." That night, T made a decision. He told his team to set up a live broadcast for the next evening. A raw, unfiltered moment where he would finally break his silence. But what no one expected was just how explosive his words would be. When the live began, thousands tuned in within seconds. Fans flooded the chat, spamming messages like, "Finally, speak your truth," and "We need answers." T sat in front of the camera wearing a plain black hoodie. No jewelry, no entourage, just him and the truth. He took a deep breath before speaking. "This ain't easy for me," he started, his voice calm but strained. "Everybody out there got opinions, got theories, got jokes. But none of y'all know what it's like to raise a son in this spotlight. Y'all see fame, I see pain. Y'all see a mugshot, I see my baby boy." The comments went wild. Fans began crying, others typing words of support. But T wasn't done. "I failed him in some ways," he admitted. "I thought if I gave him everything, I didn't have the money, the house, the cars, that he'd understand love through success. But I was wrong. Love ain't built on material. It's built on presence. And somewhere along the way, I lost that." Tiny, watching from another room, covered her mouth as tears streamed down her face. For the first time, T was showing the world what he never had before: vulnerability. Then T dropped the bombshell. "There's things people don't know about what really happened," he said, leaning closer to the camera. "King wasn't alone that night. He took the fall for somebody else. Somebody he thought was his friend. I can't say names, but I know the truth. And when I found out, it broke me. The internet erupted. Timelines exploded with theories. Who was this friend? Why would King take the blame?" Within hours, every gossip blog and entertainment channel ran with the story. Fans demanded justice. Some accused T of lying to protect his image, while others believed he was exposing a massive betrayal inside the prison. King found out about his father's statement through another inmate. "Yo, your pops went live," the guy told him. He said, "You took the fall for someone." King froze. He didn't say a word, but his mind raced. His heart pounded. He had told no one the full truth, not even his parents. How did T know? Later that night, King sat on his bunk, staring at the ceiling. A flood of memories hit him that night at the club. The argument, the chaos that led to his arrest. It had started as a night out with friends, but one bad decision changed everything. A fight broke out, things spiraled, and by the time cops showed up, King had already decided to take the blame. Loyalty, he told himself then. That's what family taught him now, sitting in that cold cell. He wondered if loyalty had destroyed him instead. Meanwhile, Tiny's phone rang nonstop. Friends, family, and even fans called to check in. Some praised T's bravery. Others worried he'd said too much. "He's opening old wounds," one family member said. "This ain't gonna end well." And they were right, because the next day, a video surfaced that turned everything upside down again, a grainy clip showing King and another young man during the altercation that led to his arrest. It looked like the other guy had thrown the first punch, but King stepped in right after. The internet went crazy. So T was telling the truth. Fans tweeted, "King took the fall for someone else." Within hours, hashtags like Justice for King and Protecting Harris were trending worldwide, but not everyone was convinced. A former associate of T, the same one who had appeared on a podcast before, went live again, this time with accusations. T trying to make himself look good, he said. He wasn't no perfect father. That boy been crying out for help for years. Now that he in trouble, T want to play the victim? The backlash was immediate. Social media divided into camps, those defending T as a father trying his best, and those claiming he was using the situation for sympathy. Even celebrities began chiming in. One rapper tweeted, "It's hard raising kids in the spotlight. I feel for T, but we can't ignore the pain behind the fame." As all this unfolded, T stayed quiet again, refusing to respond to the noise. Instead, he focused on trying to reach King directly. He sent letters, made calls, even reached out through lawyers. But King didn't answer. Weeks passed, and the silence between father and son grew heavier. Tiny finally decided to visit King herself. When she saw him, she broke down. "Baby, you gotta talk to your daddy," she pleaded. "He's hurting, same as you." King looked at her, his eyes hard. "He ain't hurting like me, Mama. He out there living free. I'm in here paying for mistakes I didn't even make." Tiny grabbed his hand through the glass. "He's trying, King. He's trying to make things right." King shook his head. "It's too late for that." Back home, T sat by his studio window, listening to the city outside. He replayed old videos of King rapping as a teenager, full of energy and confidence. Every clip felt like a reminder of what he'd lost, not just his son, but the connection they once had. One night, he got a call from an unknown number. It was someone from inside the prison. "King's been writing again," the voice said. "Songs, letters, stuff about his dad. Deep stuff." T closed his eyes, emotions flooding him. He didn't know it yet, but those letters would soon make their way into the world, and when they did, they'd expose truths that no one, not even T, was ready for. Because buried inside those handwritten pages was a confession that would change everything. The letters surfaced quietly at first, passed between inmates, then leaked online by someone who claimed to have found them in a forgotten stack of mail. There were 6 pages in total, hand-scrawled, smudged with pencil marks, the handwriting shaky but intense. They were addressed simply to the man I wanted to be. Fans immediately knew who that meant. The first letter hit the internet like a storm. King wrote about his childhood, growing up in a house full of fame, cameras, and expectations. "Everybody thinks it's fun being T's son," one line read. "But they don't see the part where I had to fight to be heard. I was raised around greatness, but I never felt great myself." The words cut deep. Fans read and reread every sentence, breaking them apart like lyrics. In another letter, King confessed, "I messed up. I made choices I shouldn't have. But I ain't the only one who did wrong. Pops, you taught me to be strong, but you never taught me how to be vulnerable. You told me to act tough, even when I was breaking inside. Now, I don't know how to stop fighting." The world went silent for a moment. It wasn't just a son blaming his father. It was a young man bleeding onto paper.
Okay.
Admitting his pain in a way no interview ever could. Tiny was the first to read all 6 letters. She sat on the couch, tears dripping onto the pages. "He's hurting," she whispered. T stood nearby, his face stone still. "I didn't know he felt like that," he said quietly. "I thought I was protecting him." Keeney handed him the letters. "Maybe protecting ain't what he needed. Maybe he just needed you to listen." That night, T read every word twice. Each letter felt like a punch to the gut. The last one broke him completely. It read, "I ain't mad at you, Pops. I just wish you saw me before the world did." By morning, T's team was begging him not to respond publicly. "It's too raw," one of them said. "Let the press calm down first." T didn't listen. He felt something inside him shift. This wasn't about image anymore. This was about redemption. He took to Instagram again, this time posting a picture of one of the letters blurred but real. The caption read, "My son's words hit me harder than any headline ever could. I'm listening now." The post went viral instantly. Fans flooded the comments with support, heartbreak, and hope. "This is what healing looks like," one comment said. "It's never too late," said another, but not everyone was convinced. A well-known gossip blogger released a news story claiming the letters were fake. Written by T's publicist, Team for Sympathy. "Don't fall for the act," the blogger sneered. "This is all damage control." Once again, the internet split in two. Tot King, hearing about the reaction from prison, was furious. "They think I didn't write my own words," he told a cellmate. "I bled on that paper." A week later, a journalist managed to secure an interview with T.I., his first since the letters leaked. It was supposed to be a calm, reflective discussion, but it turned emotional fast. "You think you were a good father?" the interviewer asked. T took a long pause before answering. "I think I was a father learning in public. And I made a lot of mistakes doing it." Clips spread everywhere. People began to see T in a new light, not as a flawless celebrity, but as a man trying to pick up the pieces of his family. Meanwhile, inside the prison, King started to change. Guards noticed he was more focused, spending hours in the library or writing music instead of arguing or keeping to himself. "He's different now," one guard said. "You can see it in his eyes. He's got purpose." One afternoon, during visitation hours, T finally walked through those prison doors. The moment was tense. They hadn't seen each other since the sentencing. When King saw his father enter, he froze. T looked older, tired, but softer somehow. He sat down across from his son, the glass separating them like a wall neither knew how to break. For a long time, neither spoke. Finally, T said quietly, "I read your letters." King looked away. "I didn't write them for the internet," he said. "I wrote them because I didn't think you'd ever hear me otherwise." T nodded slowly. "I heard you. Every word." His voice cracked. "And I'm sorry." That word hung in the air. It was the first time King had ever heard his father say it. "Sorry for what?" King asked, his tone a mix of anger and disbelief. "For not showing up when it mattered. For letting pride talk louder than love. For making you feel like you had to earn what was already yours." King's jaw tightened, but his eyes softened. "You think words fix everything?" "No," T said, "but it's a start." For the first time in months, King allowed himself to smile just a little. "Then maybe we got somewhere to go." Outside that prison, word of their reunion spread fast. Fans flooded social media with joy, calling it the healing moment the culture needed. Even celebrities who had criticized T before posted messages of support. But just when things seemed to calm down, another twist came. The same friend who King had taken the blame for a young rapper named Lil Dre went live on Instagram and made a shocking confession. "King ain't do it," he said. "It was me. He told me to stay quiet because he said I had more to lose. But I can't hold it anymore." The internet exploded again. Fans demanded that King's case be reopened. Hashtags like Freaking Harris and Justice for Truth dominated Twitter. T reposted the confession with a single caption. Now, y'all know, within days, lawyers jumped into action. New evidence surfaced supporting Lil Dre's claim. The district attorney's office confirmed they were reviewing the case. It was chaos, but for the first time, hope was in the air. Inside the prison, when King heard the news, he broke down. He wasn't a man who cried easily, but that day he did. A weight he'd carried for months seemed to lift. Tiny called T that night, her voice trembling. "Maybe this is God's way of giving us another chance," she said. T nodded quietly. "Maybe it is. But even as the world rallied behind the Harris family, not everyone was celebrating. Critics accused T of using the situation to boost his image. He's turning his son's pain into publicity, one commentator said on a radio show. He's got a new documentary dropping soon, and suddenly he's all about family healing. Come on, those accusations stung, but T didn't respond. He was focused on one thing, getting his son home. As the legal process unfolded, T and King began exchanging letters regularly. They talked about life, music, and forgiveness. In one letter, T wrote, "You don't have to live up to me, son. Just live true to you." King replied, "Then maybe for the first time I will." Weeks later, the news everyone had been waiting for finally arrived. The case was reopened, and the charges against King were officially under review. Fans flooded the streets, chanting his name, celebrating like he'd already been freed. Reporters camped outside T's house again, waiting for his reaction. He stepped outside, hands in his pockets, looking calm but emotional. "We ain't celebrating yet," he said softly, "but we're grateful." And as the cameras flashed, one couldn't help but notice something new in his eyes. Not anger, not pride, but peace. But what no one knew was that there was still one final truth waiting to be revealed. One that would test everything T and King had rebuilt. Because while the world believed the story was ending, it was really just reaching its most shocking turn yet. Days turned into weeks, and the world watched closely as the investigation reopened. Everywhere you looked, from podcasts to talk shows, people were talking about T and King. It wasn't just a story about fame anymore. It had become a symbol of family, redemption, and the thin line between love and pride. But behind the headlines, inside the Harris household, tension still simmered. Tiny tried to keep things calm, but the family couldn't escape the noise. Every phone call, every news alert felt like another reminder that the world was watching. "We can't breathe without somebody twisting it," Tani said one morning as she sat at the kitchen table scrolling through comments. T rubbed his forehead, his voice low. "We put our lives out there. Now we paying for it." That afternoon, T received a call from his lawyer. The tone was serious. "Tip, there's something you need to know," he said. "There's new footage from that night, and it changes everything." T's heart raced. "Changes how?" he asked. "It proves King didn't start the fight," the lawyer replied. "But it also shows who did, and it's someone closer to home than anyone expected." T's stomach dropped. Closer to home. The lawyer hesitated before saying the name, one that T hadn't spoken in years. It was a cousin, part of the extended family, someone who had been hanging around King for months before the arrest. Someone T had warned him about. By evening, T sat in his studio again, replaying the new video over and over. It was grainy, but clear enough. The cousin threw the first punch. King tried to pull him back, but by the time cops arrived, chaos had already erupted. And in that confusion, King took the blame. Tiny walked in just as T hit pause. "What is it?" she asked, sensing something was wrong. "It wasn't his friend," T said slowly. "It was family." Tiny's eyes widened. "No, yeah," T whispered. "Family did this?" It was a gut punch neither of them expected. For years, T had preached about loyalty, about keeping family close, and now that loyalty had come back to haunt them. When the truth came out, it hit the internet like a thunderclap. Blogs and news outlets exploded with headlines like "T's family betrayal uncovered" and "The real story." Behind King Harris's arrest, fans were stunned. How could his own blood let him take the fall? One tweet said, "This is deeper than we thought." Another read, "The cousin, faced with the evidence, disappeared. No one could find him, not his friends, not even his family." T's camp stayed silent as the search continued, but inside, T was battling his own storm. He felt betrayed not just as a father, but as a man who had spent his life trying to protect those around him. One night, he confided in Tiny. "I built everything on loyalty," he said quietly, "and now I see it was blind loyalty. I was protecting people who didn't deserve it." Tiny took his hand. That's what makes you human. Tip: you give people chances. Sometimes they don't deserve them, but that don't make you weak. It makes you a father, a man, a person who still believes in love. Meanwhile, word reached King inside the prison. At first, he didn't believe it. "Nah, that can't be right," he said, shaking his head. Not him. He wouldn't do that. But when the proof came, when he saw the footage for himself, his face hardened. "So I took the fall for somebody who didn't even care enough to stop me," he said bitterly. His anger boiled for days, but then something shifted. He stopped talking about revenge and started talking about forgiveness. To one of the guards, he said quietly, "Holding anger don't set you free. Letting go does." As weeks passed, the case against King crumbled. New evidence confirmed he hadn't started the fight. The cousin was officially listed as a suspect, and the district attorney announced plans to overturn King's sentence. Within hours, the internet erupted with celebration. Fans posted countdowns, murals appeared in Atlanta, and even other rappers voiced their support when the news broke that King was finally coming home. Tiny cried for hours. "God is good," she whispered. T just sat still, staring at the wall. The weight of everything sinking in. The day King was released, the atmosphere in Atlanta was electric. Cameras lined the streets outside the correctional facility. When the gates opened and King stepped out, wearing a gray hoodie and holding a small duffel bag, fans cheered like it was a concert. Tiny rushed to him first, wrapping her arms around her son and sobbing. T stood back for a moment, watching. Then, slowly, he walked forward. Father and son stood face to face. No cameras, no words, just silence. Then T reached out and pulled him into a hug. "You're home?" he whispered. King's voice was low. "Feels like the first time in a long time." The video of their embrace went viral within minutes. Fans flooded social media with tears and heart emojis. "This is what healing looks like," one person tweeted. "From pain to power," said another. But the story didn't end there. Days later, T announced something unexpected, a documentary called The Truth About Family. Not about fame or music, but about the journey of rebuilding after betrayal. "This ain't about clout," he said in the trailer. "It's about facing your truth, even when it hurts." The documentary showed behind-the-scenes footage of everything. From the court battles to the quiet moments at home when cameras weren't supposed to be rolling. One scene in particular broke everyone's hearts. T and King sitting in the studio, recording a track together for the first time since before the arrest. The lyrics told their story about mistakes, forgiveness, and the kind of love that doesn't quit. Even when it breaks, the song became an instant hit. Fans said it felt real, raw, something deeper than anything T had released in years. It wasn't just music. It was closure. In interviews, T talked about how the experience changed him. "I spent years thinking I had to be strong all the time," he said. "But sometimes strength looks like saying sorry. Sometimes it looks like holding your son when he cries." King, too, began to speak publicly. "I ain't proud of everything that happened," he told one interviewer. "But I'm proud of how we came out of it. Me and my pops, we're learning. We ain't perfect, but we trying." Fans fell in love with the new, humble version of King. Less flashy, more grounded. Even his music shifted. Instead of bragging about fame, he rapped about pain, lessons, and growth. One verse hit everyone hard. "They said I lost myself. I said I found my soul, had to fall apart just to take control." The public couldn't get enough. The Harris family, once divided, was now stronger than ever. Not because everything was perfect, but because they had survived what should have broken them. Yet, in one emotional scene from the documentary's final moments, T admitted something that left fans stunned. "You know," he said, looking at the camera, "when I said sometimes pain makes men, I didn't just mean my son. I meant me too. He made me better. He made me see what really matters." The screen faded to black as his voice echoed. "This ain't about who's right or wrong. It's about love. And love don't quit." When the documentary aired, millions tuned in. Fans cried, families shared it, and even critics who once mocked them had to admit it was powerful. And in the final scene, T and King stood on stage together during a surprise performance in Atlanta. The crowd roared as father and son rapped side by side, their voices blending like two halves of a broken story finally made whole. When the song ended, T looked at his son and said quietly into the mic, 50 years old and I'm still learning how to be a better man. This right here, this my second chance. The audience erupted. Tiny wiped tears from her eyes backstage, whispering to herself, this is what we prayed for. And as the lights dimmed and the cheers faded into the night, one thing was clear. This wasn't just a comeback. It was a rebirth. The Harris family, once torn apart by scandal, had rewritten their story. And this time, it wasn't about fame, money, or pride. It was about forgiveness, family, and the power of finally speaking your truth. And that, folks, is the story that shook Atlanta, the hip-hop world, and every fan who ever believed that fame protects you from pain. At 50 years old, T finally spoke from the heart, not as a rapper, not as a celebrity, but as a father learning how to heal. From the courtroom chaos to the emotional letters, from betrayal within the family to that unforgettable hug at the prison gates. The Harris family showed the world that even through pain, love still finds a way to speak louder than judgment. But the story doesn't really end here. Fans are still asking questions. What happened to the cousin who disappeared? Will King and T's relationship stay strong? Or will fame test them again? And how will their new bond shape the future of the Harris legacy? Only time will tell. What's certain is that this chapter changed them forever, and maybe it changed us a little too. So what do you think, viewers? Was T right to expose the truth, or should he have kept it in the family? Did King's time behind bars make him stronger, or was he just a victim of loyalty gone wrong? We want to hear from you. Drop your thoughts in the comments below and tell us where you stand in this emotional roller coaster of truth. Betrayal and redemption. If you were hooked by this unbelievable drama, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss another story that keeps the world talking. Your support keeps these stories alive, and you won't believe what's coming next. This is just the beginning, because in the world of fame and family, the truth is always stranger than fiction.